What's going on, guys? Sorry about this back noise. How you guys doing today? Just say what's up when you get on into chat. I don't know where Sheets is. He's supposed to be here with me, but it is what it is. So we're going to go through the slate and talk through a little bit about what I'm going to do. Let me share my screen in just a second here, and we'll get into it. So it's a weird big slate without like a lot of offenses that I like. There are a lot of really ugly hitting conditions out there today. And you can see that as we sort of predicted early on, Michael King sort of steamed and is now getting, looks like going to be probably close to 30% ownership. I would bet that's pretty, maybe even higher in the high buy-ins, which one thing I'm going to do is in my non-king lineups, I think I am going to try and take some shots on Toronto just to try to get a little bit different. But right now I've got it as my pitching is King, Gaussman. This is my pool. Garrett. I'm also going to use a little bit of Mikolas and a little bit of Blackburn. All of those guys I think are just cheap enough that we can get to the Atlanta Dodgers if you want to. You can get to Texas easily if you want to. And that's probably what I'm going to do. Secondary stacks, I still like Colorado and the Giants for pieces, but I didn't get them into my builds naturally. I ended up with more St. Louis than I thought I was going to, mostly because it's price enforced and it's a good, again, a stadium that's not being affected by the weather. So I do have Texas as my number one stack right now. I'm curious to see what the Dodger lineup is, and it's really hard to know what to do until we get that Dodger lineup because you might get a bunch of really cheap options in Coors. You might get a full Dodger lineup, which would make the Dodgers more appealing. They're going to be very owned either way. And I think that what you want to do is try to find a way to get a little bit different. And I am probably going to be lower on the Dodgers, assuming that they put out a weaker lineup. And even if they put out their regular lineup, I just don't want to play the massive chalk. At the same time, I do think it's a pretty good spot and another stadium that is actually pretty good today. So Atlanta, so Texas, whatever Dodger pieces or, whatever we want to use from there. I think Toronto as a contrarian stack, and then Atlanta, Milwaukee are the next ones for me. I've got it sort of ranked in that order. Some individual there's, I was looking through earlier today and a lot of the value is sort of suspect, but you can see, you've got the 2,100 Furman and the 2,300 Luken Baker that just makes the St. Louis, you can get in some of these expensive bats and maybe not have to spend down on pitching. But even if you do spend down on pitching, you still might find the need for some salary relief. So those are the guys I'm siding with. Horrible hitting conditions in Minnesota, which has got me more on Paul Blackburn. So I'm not going to be playing the Minnesota guys. And if you see right here, like just in terms of ownership, let's sort by ownership by Goldie. And you see the Dodgers. That's not, forget he hasn't updated yet. Actually, let's use Sheets as then. He has the Dodgers and Arizona basically getting all the ownership. And I am going to be off of Arizona. Another game with horrible hitting conditions, but certainly not going to fault anybody. It's a good matchup, but I don't like the wind blowing in and the chalk. So I'm going to be going elsewhere mostly. And you can see nobody else projected above 10% ownership as a stack. That could change when the Dodger lineup comes out, but I think that's a pretty nice time to say, hey, I think you can play absolutely anybody you want here. And I'm not going to have any sort of issue with it whatsoever, stack-wise, that's not named Arizona and the Dodgers, just because they're going to be just a little too popular. So I ranked my guys. I told you my pitching pool. Let me know what you guys are doing. Pop in and ask any questions. It's always hard in baseball solo shows because I'm not doing any scripting builds or anything like that. We could try and do a build if you want to. I personally don't do that as much. But let me know what you guys want to talk about, and I'll be happy to talk about it. But until we get the Dodger lineup, I don't really have a whole lot more to offer in terms of what I'm doing than what I mentioned already. But do keep an eye out for that Dodger lineup. You might get James Outman batting cleanup today. Like, you really don't know what kind of lineup the Dodgers are going to release. So they lost today, which puts them basically at 4 back. And basically ends the division. I also feel a little suspect about Atlanta. If they get up big, I could see them start. This could be a good spot for them to start resting some guys. I don't really know why they wouldn't. Kind of weird that they've been just releasing, their A+ lineup for a while, and that's, pretty much it. Rich, to answer the question from Rich about the love for the Rockies. I initially was thinking about playing Bobby Miller, and then I switched over, and I think the Rockies are a good contrarian stack. We still don't have a lineup, I don't believe, for the Rockies yet. But you can see nobody projected over 6% ownership. That's got to be appealing. Maybe I don't like them as much as a 5-man because I think Bobby Miller's pretty good. And even if the Dodgers put their lousy bullpen arms in, it's not like these are bad pitchers. But it is appealing to play them at reasonable prices because they aren't very good. Like McMahon, Nolan Jones, Chris Bryant would be my 3 favorites. And then Diaz would be my next favorite personally. So I definitely can get behind the Rockies, although I have them more as a complementary stack than I do as a full stack. I have no problem if you want to full stack them. I just personally didn't get there myself. The Cubs is one that's picking up a little bit of steam, I noticed. You know what? I actually don't mind that at all. It's another one that's expensive. And it's got some pinch hit risk. They're still really playing for something. So Mastroboni and Tauchman could easily be out of that lineup by the time the second or third at-bats come around. And just keep that in mind, and I think you'll be fine. But I'm okay with the Cubs against Elder. Again, I prefer the lefties because the wind's blowing in from left field in Atlanta. So I would prefer the lefties in the whole Atlanta-Chicago game in general. It's interesting. Scott, a good question. It's a tough spot for the Astros. No, I don't like them as a full stack. I have zero issue if you want to play a one-off of any of these guys. They're going to be completely unowned. Playing Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker against a pitcher that is around the plate, negating some of the strikeout downside and increasing some of the home run upside. I think that's a really good idea for tournaments. Didn't get there myself, but I'm totally good with it. And I think both Arizona and Seattle, both Houston and Seattle are similar that way. I didn't get to them as full stacks, but I have no problem using pieces from there. And you know what? We've certainly seen those stacks go off. One thing to keep in mind, though, also, you're going to get your best everything from both of these teams. They're desperate to win. The rest of the games they play this season, you're going to get the best of everything. So if Javier is struggling, he'll be out right away, and you'll have their best guy in. You know what I mean? That's the way they're going to play these like playoff games, basically. So just interesting to note that. But yeah, I think those two teams are viable. I didn't get to them, like I said, but I'm definitely on the side that they are completely viable if you wanted to get different, because I really don't like much. I mean, look at these totals, and these aren't even the Vegas totals. You have 2 teams above 5, and it's Texas, or 3 teams, Texas, the Dodgers, and Arizona. I don't agree with the Minnesota 5. I think their actual run total is like 4.4. But Vegas only has, we'll just look at it real quick, using the RG sheet here. But Vegas only has what is it? I'm trying to look at who's got over 4 total. You got 4 flat for them. Over a 5 total. Atlanta's barely over 5, which you don't see that every day. You see there's a little bit of wind coming in from left field. So again, slightly prefer the lefties there. You've got the Dodgers with a giant 7-run total. You've got Texas with a 5-run total. But really, not a lot else out there to love. Any Houck tonight? To be honest, no. And I didn't even consider him, really. I probably should have a little bit more. I think I actually prefer Blackburn to Houck tonight, all things being equal. And I just like the pitching conditions better there. I think I might even say Mikolas and Tauch. I know Mikolas is 800 cheaper. Both of them maybe limited upside, but could get you that 15 to 20 range that you might want to be in. I think they both have a decent enough shot. So no problem with Houck. Didn't get there myself. But let's keep them going. Let's keep the questions and thoughts coming in. Happy to take a look at anything. And just let me know what you guys, what else you guys want to ask. And otherwise, we're going to get out of here. Baseball's kind of winding down. You can feel it. You can feel less people playing. It's harder. The tournament's taking longer to sell out. Even on a day with no football like today, just not a whole lot of interest in the old baseball at this time of year. So we will focus more on basketball. Sheets and I did an early look. Please check that out. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the videos. I always forget to ask that. But check out Sheets and I's early look. It's a very early look for Sunday. Rhodey and I will tighten it up a little bit on Thursday night, and we'll release that Friday morning. And then we are going to get into the to the full of it, all of it, 11 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. So anyway, that's where I'm at, guys. I hope everybody has a good night. I'm going to wish everybody good luck and probably get out of here if there's no more questions or thoughts, because otherwise, I'm just sort of talking for the sake of talking, which is great. I just would like to have someone to talk with. So with all that said, guys, good luck to everybody. I hope you guys crush it. And I am going to get out of here. I'll be in the premium Discord. We can talk over the Dodger lineup once it comes out over there. So good luck, everybody.